we have got VG Hydra and Pirox314. Smashley, why don't you tell us a little bit about VG Hydra?
Hydra's been running Ori for quite a bit. He started after, let's see, let me pull up these notes. February of last year, after he saw Grim and Uncamius run at AGDQ, an all cells race. So he's been running since then. Pyrox is a fairly new runner. He's only been running since after this AGDQ, after he saw that run of Oreo. Sigma ran that. But he's been running casually since late 2015. So he's been involved in it for quite a bit, but only started running recently.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of as to be expected between that much of a disparity in experience, we're probably going to see a little bit of a one-sided run here. It looks like it is about to get started. They're getting the timers going. They're getting things synced up. Oh, no, wait. Did we reset? Okay. Well, we got a little bit of time to finish the intro then. So anyway, Pyrox, as far as his PB is concerned, he is looking at about a 45-ish, whereas Hydra does currently have second place in the world with a 32. So there's a pretty big disparity in times here. So we're probably not going to see a particularly close race, but I do think it's still going to be pretty exciting to watch because Hydra is well known for going for some pretty flashy, difficult strats that other runners, even other runners around his time, tend to shy away from. And Pyrox is in that sort of just above 40 range that we've been seeing some really cool things out of runners in this tournament. There's been a lot of people who are like just a couple of minutes above 40 who have been stepping up to the plate during tournament races and getting big PBs. So I'd like to see, Pyrox step up to the plate, bring his average time down, and give us a good run. Out of Hydra, I'm hoping to see the long laser dash. I'm hoping maybe to even see fast Frankie walk, just because he's the kind of guy to go for that sort of thing.
Yeah, he said there's a new dash glide that Richard actually came up with. I haven't seen that yet, so we'll get to see that. He said he'd probably die to it. So.
Yeah, it's a new strat that just got busted out in Richard and Vuligen's race yesterday in the Death Gauntlet just after the Frankie walk. We'll point it out when it comes out. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, why didn't we think of that before? It's pretty interesting. Both of these runners are on mouse and keyboard, so we won't have any disparity as far as controller mechanisms. Really, the only differences you're going to see are just in terms of the level of experience. Hydra, like you said, has been running since way back in vanilla. He got most of his experience with all cells, which I think is a category we're going to see making a comeback soon. I know a lot of people have expressed interest in the all cells category coming up after this tournament is over. So you guys can see the stats for these two runners here. You've got, pretty good average race times from Hydra there. He's looking around like a 33, mid 33 on his average. As far as door warp, he's very consistent. He needs only a 35.27 to keep his second place seed, which for a runner like Hydra shouldn't be an issue. And over on Pyrox's side, you can see also has not failed door warp yet, which is pretty amazing. It's a one-frame trick, so to have gotten it correctly twice in a row, especially for a newer runner like himself, is quite good. You can see, though, he has a Sorrow Bash tourney high of 10 attempts. Sorrow Bash is a trick that tends to be a run killer for newer runners. Not that it isn't for more experienced runners, but it is a big hurdle for newer runners specifically that you tend to have less trouble with the further along you get. So we'll see how he can manage that going into this. All right, looks like they're... Nope.
They're just setting up the timers. They're just setting up the timers, yeah. But yeah, Sorrow Bash is one of those that you spend the most time on when you learn the run. I know I did.
Yeah, it tends to be one of the real killers that can discourage players from getting started. All right, looks like we are actually getting the timers started for good. There's going to be just a short period where they sync up the timers, and then they'll get matched up and go. We are... Okay, never mind. We're not. We're still working on the timers. All right, so as far as what this race means for the tournament, like I said, Hydra is pretty well locked in his second seed. He would have to have a pretty disastrous race by his own standards to not stay in that second seed. And Hetfield, of course, has the first seed locked up pretty tightly as well. So he's probably not going to change much. What Pyrox, however, is looking for is a very good, clean race to bring his average time down because barring something really, really incredible here, he's going to be going 0-3, and at that point, as the 4th seed coming out of his group, the 4th seeds need to go the bottom 4 average race time, or sorry, the bottom 8 average race time 4 seeds have to go into a little mini playoff bracket to fight for 4 spots in the eventual round of 32 bracket. So he's looking to avoid having to actually play for his spot by getting a decent time here. And that means that every single one of these is very important to play cleanly on, because, you know, if you have a disastrous run and you suddenly ruin your average, suddenly you might have to play for your spot, and maybe that day you're not feeling well or you have a bad run, and all of a sudden one race is what determines your fate going into the tournament bracket.
It looks like we've got started here.
All right, excellent. Oh no, Hydra goes for the color code and gets a pretty unfortunate color there. He gets himself a sort of purplish blue that blends in perfectly with the background here. He'll probably try and change that once he gets to sign, because it's extremely difficult to see through the save anywhere menu when he comes back to enter Black Root Burrows later.
That would be a wise decision. I have done that before and missed it.
Yeah,
So,
it's
I know the
not a good
struggles.
time. So Pyrox just getting off to a slightly slower start, but is now keeping step for step with Hydra. He'll be coming up to sign a couple of seconds late. All right, let's see if Hydra tries to change his color here. Okay, gets a much more vibrant green. Excellent. Oh, switches to orange. Okay, that's going to work out for him quite well. The fluorescent colors tend to work out pretty well in the early game. Now, later on when you get to Swamp, if he continues to go with the color code, he's going to want sort of a darker color to go against the lighter backgrounds. Now, right off the bat, you can see a pretty interesting difference between these two, and it's definitely displaying its efficacy for Hydra in this Frankie fight. He uses a technique where he's binding, shooting with the laser to his scroll wheel on his mouse, which is enabling him to get those extremely fast lasers you can see him doing, whereas Pyrox is going with kind of a timed method. Optimally done, the method that Hydra is using is slightly faster. If you time your shots perfectly, you can get very, very close to that, though. So it is a little bit up to personal preference, but I know a lot of the top runners have been starting to adopt the scroll wheel method, which you can see Hydra put into great use here.
Looks like Pyrox missed a jump there, putting him a little bit behind, but it's so early in the game. There's so much that can happen.
All right, you can see Hydra taking his damage boost on the slime here to try and set up his ghost door, and he was at 2 health, so it's a little bit slower for him to take his intentional death in the water, but it's still pretty good, and he's on his way. He is taking the 4th health, which I think is a very wise decision. Only the craziest of people and Hetfield would ever take 3 health in a race. I think the only people I've seen do it so far are, I think Hydra maybe has done it once. I've seen Het do it, and Elo Jiminy goes for it. But 4 health is by far the vastly more popular decision.
I believe Hydra actually had 4 health and 5 energy in his most recent PB as well. So
He did, yes.
it just goes to show you don't need to skip him to get a pretty low time.
Yeah, he has a 32:02, I believe it is, which is an absolutely unbelievable time. That's 35 seconds ahead of 3rd place. He is still a decent bit behind Hetfield, but that's not really a fair comparison. Hetfield is a human task, so judging off of what humans can do, you can very clearly get incredible times with 4 health and 5 energy. So don't cut those cells just because you think you need to get a faster time. As a matter of fact, a lot of people are looking into it, and actually, if you use optimal strats with that energy, 5 energy is actually slightly faster. So I think we're going to see a lot more people going for that 5th energy cell going forward. Hydra is on incredible pace here. This wall jump time is actually really, really good. Pyrox is going to be coming in with about a 342, which for a new runner like himself is not all that bad either. It's not something he's going to be too upset with, I don't think.
He could definitely still PB, of course.
Yeah, like I said, we're really not looking for Pyrox to put up a fight in the actual race here, just because there's too big of a disparity in experience. What we're looking for out of him is getting close to his PB, bringing his average down, and maybe even setting a new personal best for himself in this run.
That would be fantastic. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of race PBs in this event, and every single time it's incredibly exciting.
I mean, even his 45, I would say, is a very good time considering he's only started this year.
Yeah, you said he started after this most recent AGDQ, correct?
Right.
That is, that
So-
just happened. That's incredibly recent.
Yeah, he just got that a week or two ago, so.
All right, so Hydra's orange color is going to help out here. You can see with the Save Anywhere menu up, it's a little bit difficult to see Ori in the background. If you're blending in with it, that bright orange helps out a little bit. He does nail the timing on it. He's going to skip this cutscene and get into Blackroot. Let's see what kind of times he can get. Hydra, I believe, as far as I'm aware, has the fastest dash split of anyone. His gold is like a 354, which is something, it's just absolutely unbelievable. I don't even know if Hetfield has gotten one of those.
Did you happen to see how much health he had entering?
I did not know. Blackroot is a bit of an odd area in that if you're not at one... Oh, no, Hydra! Oh. Well, okay, that just proves exactly my point that I was about to make. The amount of health you have going into Blackroot is not super relevant unless it's 1. 1 means you can die to a slime shot, but anything above that, 2 through 4, is about the same because most of the things that kill you are falling into spikes like that where... being at 4 just means it takes you longer to die in the spikes before you can make another attempt. So really being at 2 is almost ideal, actually. But because of that death, Pirox is actually just barely behind Hydra again. You can see how perilous these jumps are making. Oh no!
Pirox too.
Blackroot is claiming so many lives today, and I expect we may even see more. We have another race coming up immediately after this, and to see deaths there is not at all uncommon. You can see how narrow the platforms you have to land on are there, and it's even worse than just having to land on them. They kind of bob up and down, and because we're not actually meant to jump back to the right here, you're supposed to go way around to the left. Certain positions of the platforms when they're bobbing up and down, you can't actually make those jumps. You have to wait for certain cycles to make it back over. You can see Pirox here waiting. He does make it over.
Extra long there.
So. Yeah, after taking a death there, he's just wanting to be extra safe and make sure he gets it.
Ooh.
All right, Hydra looks like successfully manipulating his platform cycles in here to get himself onto this one as it's rising back up. It will now be making a couple more jumps here and then activating the dash tree, which is when he's going to start really going fast. Oh no, Pirox!
He got through the lasers okay, but he did save at the top here, so that saved him. He didn't have to do all that over again, at least.
That's really fortunate.
Yeah.
It's maybe he's had trouble with that area during practice and knows that dropping a safety save there can pay off big for him.
Unless, is there a way that does anything with manipulation? I don't think.
Pirox had a good cycle on this platform here, but got sniped off of it by that slime as he was killing it and unfortunately fell down.
I think
it's not
Pirox,
too costly.
I was gonna say, I think Pirox was resetting the cycles there with his save.
Okay, yeah, that's a strat used in some other categories where because of your movement early on, you actually affect these platform cycles before you get here. And by saving and exiting, you can sort of reset the cycles. And it's possible he knew because of his movement that they were off, and he used the save to reset it. If that's what he was doing, that's really good heads-up play from him to know that much about the game that he was able to take advantage of it.
All right, Hydra got dash, and he's headed out to do his Frankie Walk.
Do you think we might see fast Frankie Walk?
He might try it, just because he did lose some time to that death, but I'm not sure.
I really hope so. If anybody in this tournament will go for it, it's definitely Hydra.
Right.
Even Hetfield has said that he's not going for fast Frankie Walk in the tournament.
He did damage it down to 1 hit, so...
So he is doing the setup for it. He doesn't look like he's putting the frog in the right position, though. I don't think he's going for it.
Oh, no, he's not. Okay.
No, he's going for it. Oh,
No,
he's not going for it. That's good. Honestly, that's probably a smart decision. It only saves 8 seconds, and it risks minutes, so there's really no reason to go for it. Especially after that death earlier, he's probably wanting to just kind of save a decent race time here, as opposed to betting it all on 8 seconds.
I'm sure if he was up against Hetfield, he may.
Okay, you can see on the screen there, oh no! Okay, so
it.
he was trying to show off the new tech there where you jump back onto that crusher and then dash glide off of it to avoid having to actually kill all those brambles. Unfortunately, he doesn't quite make it up there, lands in some brambles, and just barely makes it out alive.
Luckily,
So,
he's still alive. Yeah.
yeah, that was so close to being a disaster. We'll see if Pyrox goes for it as well when he gets there. He should be there in about 30 to 45 seconds or so. I'm not sure if Pyrox is aware of that new tech. Like I said, that just came out yesterday, so a lot of runners probably haven't seen it yet.
No, I was totally unaware of it. Looks like his Frankie kind of got out of position there. Ooh.
Oh no, he's taking too much damage.
Ooh. That's
So to get through,
death.
yeah, that's pretty unfortunate. To get through the brambles to set up the Frankie walk correctly, you need to be at least 2 health because you have to take at the bare minimum 1 to get over those brambles. And when he got stomped on by that frog, he was down to 1, so he had to kill himself there to reset and try the trick over again.
All right, Hydra getting double jump here. Still on a pretty good pace. Oh.
Yeah, that was a 10-minute wall jump or double jump, even with that death and black root, which is pretty good pace. So outside of that one mistake, he's making pretty good time here.
Let's see if Pyrex can get this. Oh, he took some damage and hit the brambles.
Pyrox is having some serious frog walk struggles in this run, unfortunately. This is now his 3rd time to have to go through it, and each time it fails, he has to go all the way back to dash. I wonder if he'll maybe take a safety save on this pad here this time. Nope, he's just going for it.
I believe, does the Frankie do 2 damage, right?
Yes, if it stomps on you like that.
So you need at least 2 health to get through these brambles, because if you hit them at the very front of them, they only take 1 hit from you. So he took a little bit too much from that Frankie.
Hydra's making quick work of this area. He's on his way to Jinso. This is a very interesting split because it's kind of the first one in the game where you're getting access to more and more of your movement abilities. Like the first 2 splits so far have been pretty minimalistic in what sort of movement options you have, but now you have double jump, and this is a very vertically oriented split.
Pyrox, okay. He got it.
Okay, Pyrox does get it.
That was a little sketchy.
Yeah, so as I was saying, Hydra's on a very vertically oriented split, and he has double jump to... Oh no, Pyrox!
Goodness.
He's back at dash again. Oh, please take my energy, Pyrox. This is not what he wants, and this is not what we want to see either. Now, with the 45, if he has a clean run from here, it might still be possible for him to put up a good time relative to his PB, but he needs to get it this time, I think.
So he is at 2 health right now, so he's got to hit a specific spot on those brambles to only take 1 damage.
Alright, on the left side you can see Hydra is approaching Ginso here. He's going to pull this rock out to activate a teleporter to use later, and then we're moving into Jinso, which is one of the more difficult areas in the game, I think. It's a very vertical platformer with a lot of difficult jumps, a lot of enemies that are not fun to deal with, and having a good clean Jinso is not an easy task even for the best of runners, so we'll see how he's able to handle it.
Oh, Pyrox.
Looks like he forgot to damage his Frankie all the way down, so had to kind of bait it to jump a few times.
Oh no.
Wait, what happened on Pyrox's side? I missed it.
I'm thinking he did not mash fire, and so he didn't get the energy into the door. So now he's got to reload and go there.
Yeah, that's an important point. To get the Frankie Walk to work, you have to have put your 2 energy into the door when you level up so that your level up refills you and you do 2 more energy in the door. But if by the time you level up you haven't already put 2 energy in, that means that you're only going to put in a total of 3 and the door actually won't open. Unfortunately, it looks like that's what he fell victim to.
Yeah, so if you get used to damaging the Frankie down to 1 hit and then you don't do it, that can kind of throw you off a little bit, which I think is what happened.
Continuing to have some struggles with the frog walk here. Oh man, you know Pyrox has got to be feeling some pressure right now. He just, he's got to get it on this one, I think. Okay, he's got it damaged down. He did remember to do it this time. Come on, Pyrox, take my energy and put it in that door. Okay, this looks good. Okay. He's in.
Just gotta get past this other Frankie.
So over on your left-hand side, you can see Hydra is making very quick work of the mini-boss using that mouse scroll wheel strat on the lasers. If you can get a total of 8 shots per cycle on the boss, you can kill it in 5 cycles. If you miss any shots, you'll have to go to a 6th, which is not huge, it's just a few seconds, but you know, when you're a runner of Hydra's level, every single bit of time you can shave off is something you're looking for. Now, Pirox did take the safety save on the telepad there, so if he fails again, he doesn't have to go quite all the way back to the death gauntlet, but you know, it's still very costly if he fails this trick again.
Hydra coming up on another ghost door here.
Yeah, and he's going to have a 15-minute bash even with that early death. Oh, Pirox, not like this. Not like this. This is getting unfortunately hard to watch. I really feel for Pirox here. I know, you know, going into this, he knows he's playing against somebody who's pretty heavily favored against him, so I imagine there's definitely some nerves involved. Oh, and he gets stepped on. Oh, Pirox, please stay out of there. Yeah, and as this just goes worse and worse, I'm sure it's just, you know, not doing good things for his mental state, and it's just making it go worse and worse each time. And he's back again. Okay, Pirox, come on, man. We're all rooting for you here, man. Everybody in the chat, I want everybody to put some PogChamps in chat or something to give this guy your energy. Okay, over on your left-hand side, you can see Hydra is working on his key duplication. Gets a very nice quick death on it. Doesn't even do the Sigma strat with the hold right. He does like a double jump and just manually aims his way in there. Gets the keys in and is headed back to do a second round to pick up another 4 keys. Save himself some time later by glitching himself some extra keys. See if he gets the hyper speed here. It looks good. All right, he's in on the mini boss. Don't expect him to have any trouble here, and then he'll be on to core skip. And once he gets through with that, he'll be on to Stomp and sort of into the mid and approaching the late game of the run.
Well, okay, looks like he got an energy drop.
Please take the save.
Please.
Take the save, Pirox, please.
Right, come on.
Okay, so Pirox got a very rare 1 in 10 energy drop from the Frankie, which does allow him to take a save, but he doesn't put it down. I don't know if maybe he just didn't see it or he doesn't know that getting that save can give him the option. Looks like he's gonna drop this. Oh, please drop the save. He still hasn't saved. Pyrox, you madman!
What a madman!
Okay, he does finally drop a save. He's through there. He is. Oh, it looks like he clicked off the screen. He's through. He's on his way to double jump. He's gonna secure the sub 20 double jump, which, you know, that's got to at least feel a little bit good, right?
Yeah, that would definitely be a relief to me. Getting that save in, at least.
The boys in the truck are saying that something maybe glitched out on Pyrox's screen because they saw that he was at 0 energy despite it picking up. So I think maybe that hesitation we saw from him there is him trying to save, and then it wasn't working, so he just moved on without it.
That's very odd.
Yeah, that is weird.
Luckily, it worked out for him. He did get that save.
All right, Hydra having a very clean Genso escape here. Gets through it with no difficulty. He's on his way to Thornfelt Swamp, and we'll be picking up Stomp here soon.
Pyrox getting sniped by that Frankie over the pit here, right before double jump. And he gets it the second time, so that's good.
All right, so Pyrox now with access to double jump and dash. Maybe he's a kind of runner that's a little bit more comfortable with the later game once you have access to things like bash and charge jump. And getting through this split and getting into Genso is where he's going to get access to bash, and it might start to improve his later game. You can see Hydra go for a little bit of a cheeky strat there. He's, instead of just jumping up the logs like most runners do, he's double bashing the fish up. That strat is only faster if you double bash perfectly every time as fast as possible. So a TAS would do it, but for RTA humans, it's pretty much impossible to actually save any time with it. His double bashes looked pretty good there, so it may have been about a wash as far as time there. And he's now approaching Drainless, which is a trick he's going to use to get back out of Swamp here by stomping that floor you normally wouldn't be able to. He's kind of a little bit past sort of the mid game here. Once he gets access to Charge Flame and gets into Valley, I think of that as sort of the start of the end game. So he's on his way to that now. You're going to get to see some really amazing stuff out of him. Hydra's movement in the late game is mind-blowing. Like his charge dash to bashes, is movement through areas, and especially like his very gutsy strats that he goes for are a real treat to watch. So you'll definitely want to check his screen out as he approaches the late game here. So Pirox finally getting out of Moon Grotto here and making his way into Jinso. It looks like he did get a first try Grotto skip, which is at least some consolation for him. That's a pretty finicky trick that can give people a lot of trouble, and especially after having that much trouble on the frog block, I can imagine that it would be stuck in his head and would be a little bit thrown off for his trick. Now Hydra did go for the 5th energy here, gets a very swag exit out of it with a stomp delay in the air, and then takes a damage boost after. That is, I believe, the absolute fast way to get out of there. Outside of, there's just kind of a little way you can skirt the roof and stomp cancel around it, but this is pretty close to that. And he's now on his way into Charge Flame and then off to Valley. And my stream is frozen.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
We
got it now.
Pyrex working his way up to Ginso entry. That jump is not easy.
Yeah, that's a very finicky jump. He does get it second try, which is pretty nice. It's surprisingly difficult to get around the little lip of the log there. It can catch you on it really pretty quickly and just ruin your day. I'd be interested to know what Hydra's pace is like relative to his PB. I'm sure he's behind it because I keep seeing his splits go red, and that death early on is going to take him out of it. But the rest of his run has been quite clean, so I imagine he's probably stayed fairly close to it, like or not close to it necessarily, but like his distance off of it has probably stayed about the same the whole time.
Right. Yeah.
Pirox unfortunately misses the cutscene skip to enter Jinso. This isn't a giant problem. All that it changes is you have to stand here and watch this, whereas he could be opening the door right now, so it's only a difference of about 5 to 6 seconds. But still, when you're as far behind as he is, anything you can do to start bringing yourself back in this is really nice.
Hydra's setting up his fast stompless. The shot looked pretty good. And
Hydra's pretty consistent with this trick. I wouldn't really expect him to miss it most of the time. He does get it. It's really fortunate. It's a trick that is important to go for at the top levels because the time save it brings is important. It's around 15 seconds, but if you miss it, it's extremely costly. The bad ways to miss it can lose you close to a minute.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, you and me both. I've been fortunate enough not to miss it in any of my tournament matches, but I've had a lot of races where it was close and then I missed it, and suddenly the race is just completely over.
Yep.
Pirox is having a little bit of trouble with his cycles on the gamers here. It's pretty finicky to get the movement through them optimally. If you move at full speed through them, you can get a good cycle where you only have to wait on one of them one very short little bit. But if you miss your movement through them at all, it becomes really bad. Okay, that's unfortunate. Up until that death right there, Hydra was about 40 seconds behind his PB, which was still very, very good 32 pace, but he did manage to find some spikes there, cost himself some more time, so he's probably now in 33-ish range, which is still an unbelievably good time, but it's definitely not what he's looking for.
Looks like he's deviating from his usual Sorrow Bash setup. He did
Hydra.
damage the bird quite a bit, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised to see Hydra changing his Sorrow Bash strat here. He normally does like an air dash after getting the bird in position, but he's going with like a pure double bash strat here.
The reason for that is if you damage the bird, if you miss even one double bash, it won't work.
He is in now though. 2 failures on Sorrow Bash is definitely pretty unfortunate though. That's gonna hurt his time relative to his PB, because I know that's first try in that. He gets the long laser dash. Oh my god, he just does not miss that trick. So if you guys saw over on the left hand side there, what you just saw from Hydra, when you do it correctly, may not look like much because he just kind of zooms through that laser, but that trick is unbelievably difficult. It's not only amazingly precise, but it's not even consistently precise. It's dependent on where you are, how high up in the corridor you are, where the frog is. All of this stuff changes. So to be able to get it as reliably as Hydra does is absolutely inhuman. And he didn't even drop any safety saves before it. Just total madman.
Even with 5 energy.
Yeah.
I know he grabbed that.
So he could have dropped a save and just chose not to.
Yeah. My guess is he's going to use some of those for uncancelled stomp cancels. Just doing C dashes.
Yeah, as our boys in the truck just pointed out, he didn't go and get the energy on the left side of Valley before entering Sorrow, so he knew going in he wasn't going to be dropping any safety saves. He got the 5th energy to allow himself to do these strats, knowing he wouldn't be able to take saves. Hydra clips some spikes, unfortunately, he's back to Sunstone. It's not the worst death in the world, but it is uncharacteristic for Hydra. I think maybe these mistakes he's making are kind of adding up a little bit and maybe getting in his head a bit. You know, he's still going for the long laser dash. Oh, and he clips the spikes again. Come on, Hydra, you got this, man. All right, Pirox does have Bash now. What I want to see out of Pirox here, oh, and a 3rd death from Hydra. What I want to see out of Pirox here is a really good second half to his run. There's really no salvaging the first half of it, unfortunately. The frog walk just kind of put the nail in the coffin on that one. But there's very much 2 separate halves to this run. There's the first half, which is all about dodging enemies and optimizing your movement in small, subtle ways. But the second half of the run with Bash, instead of dodging enemies, it becomes faster to sort of run into them as fast as possible, bash off of them, and kind of glide and fly around. So it plays very, very differently than the first half. So hopefully Pirox feels a little more comfortable with this movement and can show us a cleaner second half than we got out of the first one. All right, Hydra, after a few uncharacteristic mistakes, is on his way out of Sorrow Pass here. Not grabbing that cell, so that means he's going to be doing the new experience route where he goes and grabs this orb and levels up on the Misty mini-boss later. This is a new strat that just recently came out. It is if everything lines up slightly faster, but it's also a little bit more finicky in terms of your execution, so not everyone has adopted it yet. But Hydra, very much somebody who likes to adopt new strats as soon as they come out, as you saw from like his grotto dash glide earlier and things like that. So I'm not really surprised to see him go for it. Over on your right hand side, Pirox is going for core skip here. He's setting up the frog, getting it into the room. What he's trying to do is level up and use the level up to break both sides here, which he does successfully. That's a trick that can be finicky for newer runners because it requires a lot of different pieces to line up in terms of getting the frog in there, routing your experience correctly for this entire first half of the run. If it doesn't all work out correctly, it does, like, the whole trick doesn't work in the end and you're forced to do the right hand side. Fortunately, he gets it and is on to Misty Escape, and he's definitely looking like a different runner than he did early on back in the Frankie Walk. Now, Hydra is absolutely flying through Misty Woods here, which is exactly what we expected out of him. Misty is an area where you get to showcase your late game movement, which is something Hydra is a master of.
Pyrox taking a death in the escape. Didn't quite make that jump from that slime shot.
But he does have a really cool red Ori color, which I'm sure all you nerds know red ones do go faster, so hopefully that can speed him up later on in the end of the run here. It was an interesting choice to go on. Interesting choice to go to that bounce pad there and then still head off to the left. Maybe he just felt a little bit safer taking the big bounce off of it. Alright, Hydra's having some nice clean rocket jump movement out of here. Hopefully he goes for the Misty mini-boss strat that he's kind of known for, called the Bang Bang Pow, which is such a fast strat that you barely will even see the mini-boss. The other more common one-cycle one is the Boom Boom Boom, which... Okay, he goes for Boom Boom. No, okay, he didn't actually go for either one. He opts for a safe 2-cycle boss, which maybe he's feeling a little uncomfortable with his movement given some of these mistakes.
Hydra's energy was low for that one. He couldn't quite do that setup.
Oh, true. He had done some extra rocket jumps earlier, so that might have prevented him from being able to do it.
But he did get the level up, so he has full energy now.
Yeah, he got full energy. and got the necessary ability point from the level up that he'll be able to use to skip a very important cutscene coming up here soon. He's on his way back to Blackroot to grab Light Grenade, which is the last skill he needs, and then he'll be going on to end the run. Pirox, on the other hand, is now kind of past the halfway point in the run, going to pick up Stomp, and with that we'll be able to start heading towards Valley, which is the gateway into the late game. Unfortunately, Pirox is going to lose his very vibrant Auricolor when he does Drainless, because it requires exiting and reloading, and when you exit and come back in, you lose your Auricolor. Hopefully he can get one back that's as vibrant and cool as this one. You can see Hydra doing some pretty cool movement on his screen, or rather can't see it because he's doing a very long save anywhere from way back at a previous save used to do a glitch on the door that we'll be using later. You can do all this movement, or you can do most of the movement you just saw normally and then drop an extra save, but it's slightly faster to do it with the save anywhere up like that. It's also a lot harder because it's pretty difficult to see Ori. But for a runner as experienced as Hydra, he doesn't really have any difficulty with it.
Ooh, he tried to go for that fast cycle on the laser, but unfortunately missed it.
Yeah, trying to cut that cycle is pretty precise. Your movement through there has to be super crisp, and it's still very tight even if you have perfect movement through it, so he doesn't quite make it, unfortunately. But he's really in no particular danger. The only thing that he's running up against is he needs to not get I think it's a 35-28. If he gets less than 35-28, he doesn't lose his second seed. And barring, multiple Kuro escape deaths, he should be pretty safe on that front. He's got 5 minutes to finish the run, and he's only got a few minutes left before he's finished.
Right.
And I was looking at Hydra. Did you see if Pirox got Kuro cutscene skip?
I did not.
Okay, I thought I saw Kuro leaving the screen, so I don't think he did. But somebody in chat can correct me if I'm mistaken. Alright, Pirox now finishing up, going on his way to Charge Flame, and can finally head into Valley. Valley is the really big area, the sort of wide open, very vertical area with Sorrow Bash at the top that you saw Hydra at a little bit ago. It's sort of the hub of the last two areas we go to before we can finally finish out this run.
Looks like Pirox didn't quite get that Frankie down in order to bash it up. So if you, it's kind of precise movement here, but if you happen to jump in the correct position, you can get the Frankie to fall down there and just bash up instead of going to the right here as he's doing.
All right, let's see how Hydra does on Door Warp here. He gets it first try. That's fantastic. Hydra is killing it on Door Warp this tournament. I believe that's 3 for 3 on first try Door Warps. Make no mistake, that is a one-frame trick. There are some nice audio and visual cues you can use to help yourself out, but it's still one frame of timing, so it's not easy and has killed many, many a run. Not that this run was going to be able to PB or anything, but still, if he got trolled by Door Warp badly enough, he could actually be running the risk of not hitting that 35-28 that he needs to keep his second seed. And he's pretty much flying through this Kuro escape here. And I have to imagine he's going for fish strats.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, so that's kind of the last thing that could ruin his chances here. If he messes up fish strats and dies, he has to start the Kuro escape over. And then he could actually be in a time crunch for that 35-28. Yep, he's going for fish strats. Looks like a good setup so far. One more bash here. Okay, doesn't get it, but he didn't die to it. That's the most important thing. So he's just going to bash up a couple times here. He's holding right. He's going to finish that with a 34-20, so very comfortably ahead of the 35-28 he needs. Knowing Hydra, he's probably going to say that that was a bad run, but still 34-20, very solid race time. Nothing to be ashamed of. Very, very competitive time for a lot of runners, and would actually, beat a lot of runners' PBs outright. All right, we can see Pirox coming up to where Fast Stompless would be, and he is not opting to go for it, which I think is a perfectly fine decision for newer runners, especially as PB is around 45. I don't think there's any need to go for such a risky trick when you're at a 45 to only save 15 seconds.
Agreed.
So, yeah, so he grabs the cell ahead of time and is now just coming up to stomp it manually the intended way. All right, so historically, Pyrox has had some trouble with Sorrow Bash, which is going to be coming up here soon. He's going to go down, he's going to get himself Charge Dash, and he's going to rocket jump back up and have to do Sorrow Bash. As we saw on the info screen earlier that 10 attempts was the most he's had so far in the tournament. We're definitely going to hope that we don't see one of those. First try would be fantastic. All right, Hydra's time's coming up here shortly as soon as Naru passes behind this tree, and he does finish with a 34-20. All right, Pyrox opts to take the save pad there to use to refill his energy and get charge jump, or charge dash, sorry.
Very nice rocket jump there.
Mm-hmm. All right, he's going to rekindle this save for safety. Not a bad idea if you have trouble with Sorrow Bash. Putting your save up here and rekindling it means that if you fail, you just go right back to that spot instead of having to rocket jump all the way back up again.
Oh, he gets it first try.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
Excellent work for Pyrox there. He's got to be feeling good about that one, given that it's been a difficulty point in the past.
I would imagine so.
All right, he comes down to grab an energy. I have to imagine he's using it to make a safety save right here. It looks like he is. This trick coming up with the juggle on the frog and the skip through the laser is a little difficult, so it's not a bad idea to take a save there just in case, because if you do fail here without that safety save, you have to go back all the way to the entrance of Sorrow and do the Sorrow Bash again. Ooh, a little bit of a bad angle on the frog there, so he's going to have to... Wait, what is he doing here?
I think he was thinking about just juggling the frog back up.
Yeah.
The best thing to do is just to kill yourself here.
Yeah, finally does decide to do that and just redo the laser skip. I think he was, yeah, like you said, maybe thinking about going down and getting a frog from below, but doing that requires a ton of double bashes to get the frog all the way up without dying. So maybe a bit smarter of a decision to just do it this way.
Looks like he did a double bash there. I don't know if that was intentional or not. Uh-oh. And the frog just walked into the laser. Those frog can be very finicky.
He is at least getting the laser skip part nice and consistently, which is it's not you know 1 pixel or anything, but it's fairly precise to get close enough to it to be able to bash through, but not actually run into it and die.
Looks like he's opting to save and reload to get the frog at full health this time, and now he doesn't have to deal with the laser as well.
Not a bad decision. Unfortunately, he did save while he was at somewhat low health, so if he bonks the frog like he's doing here, every time he does it, just 1 hit on the frog is going to be lethal. But because it's at full health, he doesn't need to worry about any double bashes, so hopefully he can get it on this try here. If you're not familiar with Ori runs, the reason we're trying to get this frog up here is because the way the game wants you to progress through this area is to go off to the left and get charge jump and go way around through a bunch of extra corridors that we really don't want to have to do. But by getting this frog up here, you can get it to break that roof that we're supposed to stomp on from the top. And we can cut a whole extended sequence out.
Oh no, looks like he accidentally set off a charge dash and then lost his energy.
So he does opt to go back and redo the frog juggle. I'm not sure what would be faster, that or another option would be to stomp down and go off to the left and get charge jump, which would refill his energy. But then to float back up is pretty slow, so this might be the smarter of the 2 options he had available to him. Looking good on this frog juggle here. It's really, really nice to have that frog at full health. There's a couple of different ways to achieve it. There's the way that he did, where you go and you redo a save and get to reload back in with the frog at full health. Or you can go through the laser, and then rather than actually charge dashing all the way to the frog, you can stomp cancel out of it and then get to go through this with a full health frog. That's a pretty execution-heavy method, though. So for a runner like Pirox, maybe not necessarily worth going for.
He's opting to just float up this time, which I think is a wise decision. That rocket jump can be very, very frightening.
Yeah, it's pretty finicky to get the positioning right, and not only that, but because he's at such low health, when you drop back down, it's the timing is a little bit unfortunate because right when you're landing, that's when the frog wants to be shooting at you again. So if you land with slightly poor timing, you'll land and he'll just immediately snipe you in the face, and you would have to redo the juggle again. So I think he's just opting to say, all right, so we know this run has been a bit of a mess. Let's just finish it out, which, nothing wrong with that at all. So definitely no chance on PB here, but a clean finish here, he could be coming in around the 50-minute mark, which I'm not sure exactly what the math is on his average relative to other people. If he can hopefully get it clean, maybe he can keep himself out of the elimination bracket. I got to imagine with this one hurting his average, he will most likely have to play for a spot in the round of 32. We might be able to get some stats from the boys in the truck if they've got that info available.
I believe right now he's projected seed of 35.
Yeah, and this run is not going to be enough to get him out of that, unfortunately.
But it looks like he's on pace to finish about where he has before. He finished with a 52-10 and a 48-17 in his previous races.
Okay, so if he can come in around a 50, he can keep his average about where it was. So they are confirming, boys in the truck are saying that he was, no matter what his average here, he was going to have to play for play the pre-elimination rounds. So he actually didn't have any chance of getting out of it. But still, even if nothing else, having a good average is a nice mental boost going into those rounds. Because if you go in knowing that your average time was better, that's just a little bit of confidence boost when you know you're having to play for your spot.
Looks like he's trying to get the meteor kick.
All right, the setup wasn't liking his setup, so he decides to just fall down. All right, let's see a nice clean Misty out of Pirox here. Misty has some very cool movement because there's a ton of these charge dash to bashes you're doing where you see him rush to an enemy and then bash off of it to refund his energy. So if he feels comfortable with this kind of charge dash to bash movement, we can definitely see some good stuff out of him here. He's been doing pretty well so far.
Doesn't quite get that rocket jump, but that's okay. This is just a little bit slower. There is a way to rocket jump off of one of those slimes. I'm not exactly sure how that happens. I've tried it before. I was very unsuccessful with it, so...
Yeah, the timing on it's a little bit tougher, and Pirox either might not be aware of it or just hasn't ever done it before and doesn't feel comfortable trying it. Oh, no. Was having a solid Misty, but that death is very costly. You got to wonder, is he maybe going to take an extra safety save down there now? The problem with Misty is everything's pretty lethal there. He is at 4 health, so it's possible to survive one hit on spikes and enemies if you're at full health. But as soon as you die, if you haven't dropped a safety save, you're all the way back into Sorrow. And it's not only a big time loss, but it's a lot of mental damage too, because there's something particularly disheartening about being back to the area you were already at before this one. Even if, if you take a minute time loss and are still in your same area, it doesn't feel quite as bad in some ways.
He did take a safety save outside of Misty this time.
Yeah, I think that's a good decision.
And he is still at full health. Never mind, he's at 2 health.
All right, 2 health is the same as 1 in Misty because everything does at least 2 here, unfortunately. Misses his rocket jump again. Let's see if we can get this movement up here through the through here nice and cleanly. So one good option here would be to drop another safety save and pick up another energy from one of the crystals coming up soon. Looks like he's not going for that. He wants to keep that energy.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, so there's a huge difference in Misty between being at 1 energy and being at 0. Now, obviously having 2 energy is better than 1, but having 1 is just such a huge minimum to be at because it allows you to do these charge dash to bashes and refund it. So the speed difference between 0 and 1 is gigantic. So him opting to keep 1 instead of save is understandable. He might just be trying to get a clean, fast finish here to his run and salvage what he can out of it. Unfortunately, did eat some spikes back there, so maybe ended up being the incorrect decision, but there's really no way to know that ahead of time. Does get a safety save down here in case the worst happens again. We'll be coming up to...
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, taking that save got him 2 extra health for this area. Oh.
Yeah, at this point, the players have leveled up the regroup ability, which means that dropping saves does heal 2 health back for them. One interesting thing about how the math works out, if Pirox had opted to take 5 health, which, you know, looking back might have been a good decision, if you're at 5, Misty Spikes do 3 damage. So you would think that, you know, the difference between 4 and 5 is not particularly big because taking 2 spikes hits kills you either way. But if you're at 5 and you take 3, you're now down to 2, and a save will heal you back up to 4. So whereas a save when you're at 4 and go down to 1 will only bring you up to 3. So if you're at 4, a safety save doesn't bring you out of lethal range. When you're at 5, it will. So 5 can actually bring a lot of extra safety to Misty, which would have probably helped out a lot here. Okay, grabs the 3rd keystone, grabbing some energy here, can continue on.
I was wondering if he was going to take a safety save after that 3rd keystone. That's a pretty good spot to do it.
Yeah, most players, if they're going to drop one there, do it as they're grabbing that keystone because it's a pretty safe place. Pirox does put it a little bit further down. It's not horrible because there's not a whole lot that can kill you between here and there if you're not stomp canceling over those spikes. It's fairly safe, and it just gets you a little bit closer if you die and have to go back to it. Alright, making his way through some pretty difficult spikes to navigate. Those corridors are pretty treacherous. Runners who've been running for like a very long time make it look pretty easy to fly through that, but it's definitely something that takes a lot of practice. As you can see, there's spikes lining the entire thing, and there's a lot of narrow twists and turns.
Taking a lot of safety saves now. It's a pretty good decision.
Yeah, at this point, I agree with taking pretty much any safety save you can. And he does still have 3 energy, so he's got plenty. He doesn't have to worry too much about it. As long as he has, you know, 1 or 2, he's okay here. So I might even take another one before the mini-boss coming up here shortly. Alright, coming up to the mini-boss.
That's opting not to save. Oh.
Going for a pretty safe 2-cycle strat here, though. If you're going to do that, the save is not super necessary. It's a lot harder to die if you're doing the 2-cycle strat because you can kind of start way off to the side and dodge the initial jump out and then come in and reflect the shot back at him without having to worry too much. Alright, we are approaching sort of the end for Pirox here. He's got one more skill to go collect, which he's on his way to get now. It's the revisit into Blackroot, and then on to Horu to do the final escape. So, if Pirox can kind of dig deep here and shake off a lot of these mistakes, what I would like to see is, you know, if nothing else, let's at least see a good clean finish out here. Let's get, like, you know, a first try door warp, a first try on the escape, and prove to us that he can finish strong despite definitely having some troubles that we know he didn't want to run into coming into this race.
Looks like in one of his races he did get door orb first try. The other one was a 5th try, so hopefully he can get that first try again.
Absolutely, and 5th try, you know, despite the fact that we saw Hydra get first try and Pyrox has gotten first try in the past, that's not to be expected. I mean, I think the average number of door warp attempts in this whole tournament has been about 3, or somewhere on that order, and even that is pretty impressive. I mean, it's a 1-frame trick, and this game runs at 60 FPS, so that's 1/60th of a second timing. Even with some cues to help you out with, that's just not easy to hit. So, you know, even a 5th try attempt by Pyrox is pretty good for a newer runner. All right, Pyrox getting the movement up to the light grenade cutscene nice and cleanly. Is going to skip this cutscene correctly, looks like, and can go on to finish getting light grenade. An ability which we unfortunately will not be seeing. It's borderline useless unless you're just kind of trying to force strats with it in, but there's really no way to use it to become faster in any way, unfortunately. We used to use it, but then we found out dash glides can get you over all the cutscene triggers we used to use light grenade to get over. All right, guys, so everyone in chat, despite the fact that Pirox definitely has had a little bit of a rough run here, we love every single one of our runners in this community, and no matter what happens, like, everyone is incredibly supported, and we know we're all rooting for every single person here. So I want to see a couple of PogChamps in chat from everybody. Just, like, let's get hype for this guy finishing out his run, and let's see a first try door warp and a good clean escape, and just make it hype despite the fact that definitely ran into some troubles here. Yeah, there we go. Seeing plenty of PogChamps. Guys, like, the Ori community, if you're not a part of it already, if you're just here watching, like, the Ori community is one of the best I've encountered, and not just in speedrunning, like, in gaming in general. Everybody is unbelievably helpful, like, super friendly. It feels more like a family than anything else. Like, just throughout the entire day, like, one person will start streaming, and all the Ori runners that are on Twitch are watching, and then as soon as that person goes offline, somebody else is streaming, so everybody goes and hangs out there. It's just like a very close-knit circle of friends, and, you know, Pirox, even as a newer runner, is still very much supported by this group. So, you know, it really doesn't matter what the end result is here. Everybody just wants to see people do as well as they possibly can and feel excited about being a part of such a cool community.
Yeah, I know I talk to you guys like every single day. It's actually more than I do with my family.
Oh yeah, me too, absolutely. Oh, unfortunate death on the Baneling for Pirox there. Has to go back to his teleporter. Fortunately, that teleporter does automatically save for you when you go through it, so it's not like he has to go all the way back to Light Grenade or anything. And with Charge Dash to Bash movement, you can get through this area pretty quickly. But any death, of course, is never a good thing.
Oh
boy, that got a little bit sketchy. Looks like he was having trouble getting his charge jump to go off, and almost took that laser.
Ooh. Alright, we made it to Mount Horror.
Alright, so first try door warp. Guys, everybody give Pirox your energy here. First try door warp is exactly what we want to see here. It's one frame, it's borderline impossible, it kills every single run ever, but Pirox doesn't care about that. He's going to get first try here. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, not first try, unfortunately. Alright, let's just get less than 5. Let's work up, let's improve the average. Okay, that's 2, didn't quite get it. Okay, not on the 3rd. Okay, door warp is a tough trick, not only because it's so hard, but because as you get failures, you start to question your setups. You're like, okay, well, I thought I knew the Q and it wasn't working. Okay, there we go. That was 5th try, I believe. So he kept, you know, tied his previous 5th try attempt. Didn't unfortunately get lucky enough to get a first one. But like I was saying, like, as more and more door warp failures pile up, it gets harder and harder to get it because you start to question your method. And you start to maybe time it a little bit early because you're rushing it, or you think you're rushing it before, so you start to time it too late, and it can just spiral on itself to become a disaster. Alright, Pirox, don't let this bird boss you around. You show her who's boss. It's time to save this forest. Looking pretty good so far. Has used some good charge dashes to speed this up. Getting through here pretty safely. He's through most of the difficult parts. The parts that are left, there's just kind of needs to avoid this fire on the logs here, because that will kill you quickly if you don't feather correctly. And then this last part, if he doesn't go for fish strats, oh, he's going for fish strats. Yes, Pirox has just become my new hero. Despite everything that happened in this run, he does not care. He's going for fish strats anyway. He's like, let's end this with some swag. Oh, unfortunately doesn't get it, but you know what? He gets credit for it in our hearts. He still tried. I am extremely proud of him for going and trying it anyway. Is now similar to Hydra. He's just going to have to bash up here a couple times. His holding right is going to come through with looks like a 55-15 or so, somewhere right around there. I didn't see the exact time when he started holding right, but finishes out the run. We're all extremely proud of Pyrox for being able to do this, and like I said, I couldn't possibly be happier that he said, I really don't care what else happened. I'm going to finish this with some swag and go for fish strats. All right, Smashy, what'd you think of this race?
Overall, pretty good. Was really hoping Pyrex would PB, but he finished pretty strong. So yeah, like you said, we're really proud of him for that. Hydra is staying pretty close to his averages and his PB there. So
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, like you said, Pyrox got started just like what was it, a month or two ago? To even have signed up for this tournament is a spectacular feat of bravery. I know that if I had just picked up a new speed game like that, I don't know if I'd have been willing to participate in a tournament. So to even be up here doing this at all is really, really just like super proud of our newer runners like Pyrox. And going back to talking about how great this community is, I'm really happy to see how many runners we have just like Pyrox who did this. We have a lot of people who are like, they just got started, or they even learned specifically for this tournament. They found out that this was happening, and they learned the run just to be able to do it. That's really testament to the strength of character that these runners all have.
yeah, I think a few of them actually did see the run at AGDQ and became interested in it. So it was a really good time to start this tourney.
Yeah, I completely agree. And just because the tourney is going on and everything right now, if any of you guys are interested while watching it, I would not at all be discouraged from starting now, especially because we have new runners like Pyrox who are still learning some new things. So if you are hanging out with them, you can learn new things with them. We've got good videos that you can learn tricks from. We have a lot of extremely active runners. Like, this is the most active this community has been pretty much as far as I can remember. And lots and lots of experienced runners streaming that you can ask questions from, and extremely accepting of new runners. So if you like what you saw, give the runners a follow that you see here and hang out and chat. Pretty much you'll always find a big group of Ori runners in everyone's stream that you can hang out with and find new people to follow and learn from. Alright, so Pyrex finishes out with a 55-13. We do need to get moving on to the next match here pretty quick. I know one of our runners, Cheese Lover, is kind of up on a time crunch, so I don't want to dawdle here. Smashy, I know you're commentating this next one.